Hey guys, this is Lee with Hooked on Bass, and today I'm going to do a rather general crankbait video. Based on where you're at in the country, you're going to have different things that work based on the bait fish, the water clarity. So I'll start with the definites, okay? No matter where you're fishing at, you're going to fish your crankbait with fluorocarbon. All right, I have a gear setup video and I'll attach that down below, but no matter what, it's got to be fluorocarbon. All right, fluorocarbon gets it's invisible, has less stretch, it sinks a little bit, and with your crankbaits, you want to get them down deeper. All right, whether it's lipless, whether it's a square bill, whether it's a deep diving, the goal is to get a little bit deeper. That's what fluorocarbon does better than any other line, better than braid, better than monofilament. It sinks. All right, so what we're going to talk about is the times of year. In the springtime, you want a little bit more of an aggressive wobble. All right, so things like a square bill will be awesome because it's got a little bit wider wobble. You can also in springtime though, you can go with the rattle traps. All right, the lipless crankbaits, people like to call them. Those are really, really good. And when you're reeling those in, you just want to be aggressive in springtime, okay? You want to reel, twitch, stop, let it pause, let it sink, all right? You never want to cast on any crankbaits, really. You never want to just cast and reel in. You want to bump them off things. You want to, people always think, oh, I don't want to get snagged. If you see a log or, a vertical stump in the water, you want to cast past that and you want to bump your square bill into that. Because when you bump it into that and boom, and it deflects, it's going to be a reaction strike. A lot of times with the crankbait, they are reacting to it because it annoys them. In fact, if you know that there's a fish there, if you know there's a school over there, you might have to make multiple casts into the same place to get that bite. And you want to be aggressive with it, especially in the springtime. All right. In the fall, you're going to start going a little bit bigger. For me, I go a little bit bigger. And also, you're always going to match the bait fish, okay? So in the fall, once the water starts to get a little bit colder, I'm going to use things with a little bit tighter wobble, all right? You always got to find out where the fish are. You got to find what depth they are, what they're relating to. So if you're fishing like a big shelf in the middle of the lake and the fish are on the bottom and it's the fish are down there in 20 feet of water, this is not going to get all the way down there, but this will. This will start digging on the bottom. With crankbaits, you want to dig down to the bottom, especially when they're on the bottom. You want to react, you want to pop your line and get them to react. So we did spring, we did fall. Now the summertime, you guys, depending on the depth, I'm not using my crankbaits like on Lake Lanier as much in the summertime, but like if I go to Lake Guntersville, for instance, I'm going to use crankbaits a good bit on the ledges, and I want to go like with the Mac Daddy crankbait. I want to get down there I have to touch the bottom, so I want to get down in 20, 25, 30 foot of water, and I want to be deflecting off the rock, the shell beds, stuff like that. So this bad boy here, this goes down to like 25, 30 foot of water, okay? In the winter time, I want the tightest wobble possible, all right? I don't want it to be as aggressive. I want it to stay a little bit tighter. So any of these guys right here are a little bit tighter. You can also use your crankbaits. One thing I will say, in murkier water, I'm going to go with something in the red color. Lake Guntersville, Lake Chickamauga. Red is awesome. This bad boy right here in Chickamauga was absolutely awesome this year. And one day I caught one 8-pounder, I caught a 7-pounder, I caught a 5-pounder. They like red. And Chickamauga, and I mean all lakes they like red, but in the murkier water they're gonna react to the red. If I'm in Michigan, Lake St. Clair, I'm gonna do something for these smallmouth with like some fluorescent. They react to this fluorescent color really, really well. On bright sunny days, I like things, and it's clear water, I like something more translucent. All right, so that's a little bit clearer. I like a little bit more clear. In the springtime, especially in the Clearwater lakes, I love a sexy shad. You cannot go wrong with like a sexy shad pattern like that. All right. Also, crankbait box. This Plano Edge 3700 is the way to go. This thing is very deep, has water wicking technology. It's awesome. All right, I've water tested it. You'll see in another video, I poured water all over it. No water gets inside, has a good seal, protects against rust. This bait is awesome. I can fit all my crankbaits in here. Deep wells, you can move these dividers any which way. It is absolutely awesome. All right, so as far as crankbaits go, last thing. Most crankbaits, like this one right here, this is not a bad crankbait. All right, and these are not awful hooks. I mean, they're black nickel. They're pretty sturdy hooks. However, I consistently keep my fish pinned so much better with the triple grip hooks. If you'll see in this picture, they are going to come in a little bit. These hooks just keep fish pinned better than these do. All right, I'm not saying these are terrible. They're not terrible, but when I get a crankbait out of the box, for the most part, something that I'm going to use a lot like this one, I'm immediately taking those hooks off, and I'll save them, and I'm putting the triple grip on. The triple grip are absolutely awesome. You're just going to catch more fish once you get them hooked up on the triple grip hooks. Trust me on this. These things are awesome. All right, no matter what, with all your crankbaits or anything you're using, you always want to use the black nickel hooks. That brown wire hook, that stuff is going to stretch out. You will lose fish because your hooks bend out. That's why I love these triple grip. They just are strong hooks. They're going to last. All right, so that is it for the crankbait video. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below and we'll answer that. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and also check out our blog on hookedonbassin.com. There's a lot of good content in there. Make sure you have your fluorocarbon on. All right, it's a little bit more expensive, but you have to have fluorocarbon when it comes to crankbait fishing. All right, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment down below, and we'll see you next time.